Hello, and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'm Dr. Cheryl. Wake up to your unconditional love. Wake up to being non-judgmental. Wake up to being too critical of yourself and others. That doesn't mean giving up critical thinking. There is a difference. Wake up to stopping the murders that are rampantly happening today. I read some statistics the other day, and I'm shocked. But the U.S. is the first in the world for deaths, murders. It's over 10,000 in a year, blatant murders. And the second is Israel at 58. I just can't believe it. What the bleep is going on in our society? We all need to collectively wake up. Wake up to being and sharing your love. Wake up to thinking positive, no matter what. We need unconditional love more than ever today, especially in this season of giving and receiving. People keep asking me, what is unconditional love? Well, it's being non-judgmental and non-critical and having patience. And this is the beginning. This all starts with how you think and feel about yourself. Please take responsibility for your emotional, mental, and spiritual healthiness. Ask for help. First, recognize and acknowledge that you have a challenge. We all have challenges in life. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have something to work through. I haven't even begun to share all the challenges that I've had and to get through. But when I have faith and trust, that is the most important. A year ago, I was swindled out of thousands and thousands of dollars, and I have been couch surfing for almost a year. However, I jumped into starting this program because of my purpose and passion for getting this message out. Our society is in desperate need of tremendous shift in consciousness. Wake up! It's not just our wonderful America, but it's all over the globe. It's a global issue. It starts with love and then money. Yes, money. Our value system puts entirely too much value on money and material things. There's nothing wrong with money. It's just the unbalanced value that is put on it. Where is the love and happy relationships as our foundation and not money as our foundation? Wake up to unconditional love, applying this principle to everything. Why do you think our global community is in such a crisis? Wake up to your happiness. Wake up to your freedom. We have a very special guest today, and his name is Stewart Levine. This is the second part of a two-part discussion with Stewart. Stewart Levine is a resolutionary. Stewart is a creative problem solver widely recognized for creating agreement and empowerment in the most challenging circumstances. He improves productivity while saving the enormous cost of conflict. His innovative work with agreements for results and his revolutionary conversational models are unique. As a practicing lawyer, he realized that fighting was a very ineffective way of resolving problems. As marketing executive for AT&T, he saw that the reason collaborations fall apart in that people do not spend the time at the beginning of a new working relationship to create clarity about what they want to accomplish together and how they will get there. This is true for employment relationships, teams, joint ventures, and all members of any virtual team. As a result of his observations, he designed conversational models that create agreements for results and a quick return to productivity, and those working relationships break down. He uses his approach to form teams and joint ventures in a variety of situations. He works with individuals, couples, partners, small and large organizations of all kinds. His model for problem solving, collaboration, and conflict resolution are endorsed by the House Judiciary Committee. He teaches communication and conflict management skills for the American Management Association, CEO's Base, and the International Partnering Institute. He is a lecturer at the University of California, Berkeley Law School, and the MBA program at Dominican University of California, which is local. Stewart was recently inducted into the College of Law Practice Management.
Is to realize and discover what is your true wealth? What to you defines wealth? And I think that one of the points that most people miss is they let the society around them dictate what is their wealth, and they don't have enough ground, center, strength to decide.
That's what I call, and I don't really want to put a percentage on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the majority percent. They don't have their followers, where they don't have that creative, innovative thinking on their own. I was just hearing about that this morning, that George Lucas wants to create. He's an innovator, creator, and it isn't taught in schools. So there's a paradigm shift that is happening regarding that, and it's so important to focus in on thinking for yourself and having that ability. And of course, some people, they are used to doing it the other way, and
critical. I wish I could remember who this quote was, but I just came across it within the last couple of days. And it was the whole idea that going to heaven with a group, okay? Group think, okay? Perhaps because of religion, was not someone's idea of really getting to heaven. Because it's about having your own thinking and your own thought and deciding, so how does your organism, how does your vehicle respond? And what's the best for you in terms of defining what you value? Respecting each other's differences.
Absolutely, and that is a key to being able to get along with people, is respecting differences.
That's one of the great things that is missing in the culture we live in.
Yes.
To quote the script of the movie The American President with Michael Douglas, democracy is hard. It is. It takes work to honor and respect.
That's right.
Others that are out there.
Different.
Right.
Right. And I think a lot of it is also cultural and what you're raised with. And I know I was raised with my father always said to me, you give everybody a chance. Give everybody a chance, no matter where they came from. And we had international people in our home growing up, so I was exposed to a lot of different nationalities. So my grandparents had some prejudices, and I realize now, a long time ago actually, that I didn't agree with it. I didn't say too much, but I didn't agree with it. So.
Well, that's why I chose the little tagline for my email signature, which is a quote from the poet Longfellow. If you knew the secret history of those you would like to punish, you would find a sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all your hostility.
Absolutely. Everybody has that. Since you're following your passionate purpose in your life, and you've been doing that, I think you've already answered this question, but maybe we can get into a little bit more detail.
Sure.
Of where the source of your wealth is with that.
Yeah, great question. So the source of my wealth, I would be thanking them for allowing me to help them through this difficult, challenging, and I felt that I was doing kind of sacred work. They call it mediating, and there was a way in which I was kind of mediating between, heavenly spiritual principles and what was going on earth right in front of me.
Well, especially because you're dealing with two yin and yang, female, male, that are intimate and that have had some serious issues.
Right. So the recognition of that is certainly a piece that defines my wealth. Working with an audience, all right, whether it's a dozen or 50 or 100 or 200 or 300, to know at the end of a program or a seminar, that people have been changed or transformed. And to hear that applause and to hear the comments, that to me is what fills me up. That's the true wealth.
And because
okay?
you're making a difference.
Exactly. I mean, I know that when I go out and do the work, you know, it may not be things that pay me at the top of the scale for the kind of work that I do, but that's never been a key interest of mine. What's been the interest is going out there and impacting and changing lives. And, you know, I think I do that. Okay?
Well, and being, you know, a humble lawyer, as you are, you know, to admit that and to live it, to be it, is, you know, I respect that.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. There's more than enough for everybody.
Well, I've done the numbers, and it's $8 to $10 million a piece. It is. I mean, and it might have. Maybe it's not exactly that today, but I did the numbers, and 8 to 10 million. I'm talking about the babies in India and Africa. Everybody. So it's out of proportion. But I have to give. And I always like to give Warren Buffett some kudos and some respect, because what he says, and of course he is one of the wealthiest men, but he also had some good family training and background and money from his family. As he says, the two most important things are unconditional love and no doubt. And the no doubt is hard, and I keep talking about unconditional love because that's what it takes for every situation, and it's not always easy because of how we're raised, you know, and we have to work on ourselves to be able to really get there. And with that being said, what is your conversation that you have with yourself and others? Like whenever you get to a place that you have fear or doubt, you know, in your daily, monthly, whatever, yearly process, you know, that you know have when you're going through your work, and you know, what's the conversation?
Well, there's a few things. A number of years ago, I was introduced to a body of work developed by a guy named Bob Johansen, whose organization is called the Institute for the Future. And when he looks out in the world, he categorizes the world we're living in as a world that is a VUCA world, V-U-C-A. Now, VUCA, of course, is an acronym. And essentially, VUCA stands for, we're all living in a world that's volatile, that's uncertain, that's complex, and that's ambiguous.
Oh, wow.
So I say to myself, okay, Stewart, it's understandable that everything isn't perfect and smooth because we're living in a world that's very complex. And knowing that I'm a pretty sensitive creature, I'm taking a lot of that energy in and living with it. And so when I'm feeling some sense of dis-ease, one, I know that some of it is environmental. Two, it's a sign to me that there's some work to do. There are some things to think about, perhaps some decisions or changes to be made. And so that agitation is just a sign that, you know, the microcosm, which is me as an individual,
right,
is the same for others, which is the macrocosm. When they feel tension, stress, it means there's something that needs to be worked on.
Yes.
That's exactly what it means. That's all it means. Nobody promised us that it would be perfect all the time.
And I like to always share my metaphor with that. The oyster.
Yep.
You know, the sand gets in there and rubs and makes that beautiful pearl. And Dr. Michael Beckwith says the rub, the friction is what makes us grow. So don't resist it. Don't resist it.
One of my most memorable memories of the physical world is a place near the Four Corners called Monument Valley in Utah, which has these huge outcroppings of rock that is larger than Washington monuments, but it's opposing geophysical forces inside the earth that created this incredible momentous beauty. And so
Same
thing,
same concept,
same exact thing,
metaphor.
Right.
You know.
So embrace that agitation. It will lead
Freedom.
to some place. Exactly.
It's freedom.
I mean, that's, the great classic book, The Alchemist, is about how one thing will always lead to something that's a little bit better.
Yes, and that's the whole. I think that's the whole life process. No matter what, until we're ready to go off this planet.
Absolutely.
And I engage it because
Yeah.
it's making me a better person.
Yeah. Now, there's another important little piece also, and that is, it's got to do with biochemistry.
Okay.
Now, I look back when I was younger, and I always used to attribute dis-ease within myself to some external person, job, situation. And what I've learned as I've grown older is, no, it's not about that. It's got something to do with my own biochemistry. Each one of us is we forget, a biological machine.
Right. That's right.
And so sometimes you just sit with it and let it pass. Do you have, it's one of the great principles of the I Ching, do you have the patience to wait until the cloudy water settles until you have clarity?
Clarity. That's a key word. Clarity. Clarity and patience. I know one of mine is patience, and it truly does pay off.
Yeah.
You know, there's times when patience, you need to, like step up. So, it's like, okay, now I got to make my move. If you waited too long, so in sometimes it's good to have, not to be so patient.
Sometimes. I mean, that's part of the growth process. That everything is not in a vacuum. Patience, yeah, but sometimes urgency is critical.
Yeah,
and you've
absolutely.
got to be discerning enough to know the difference of those two opposite ends of the spectrum.
And have the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly.
And that just happens with evolution and maturity, aging, whatever you want to say. But
right. But it can be taught, and more people can be made aware of just what we're talking about here.
Well, I think this subject is so important. It's extremely important to get out there, because anyone on this planet can do this, even with a chemical disorder.
Right. I mean,
I know there's variables out there.
When I see all the dissonance and challenges out in the world, I kind of, pull out a bit of what hair that I have left and go, we know better.
Yes.
And we have better tools.
Yes.
And we can educate better.
Yes.
The wars that our country has gotten involved in over the past, 15, 20 years, boy, oh boy, if we had provided education.
I see, and that's really what it comes down to, is lack of education, lack of learning, lack of education. I mean, I was saying earlier in my introduction that, and I'm horrified by this. I just can't believe it, but it just shows, it even gives me more impetus to be doing a show like this, is that the U.S. last year had 10,000 murders, just blatant murders. The next largest was in Israel, 58. And the rest were, all the other countries that were assessed were much less than that. What is wrong with it? I mean, we know it's wrong. We know it's wrong. And it's like, wake up, educate, and heal yourselves and get help.
Well, it's interesting. reading today's New York Times, reported about the movies and TV shows that have backed off on promotional material because of all the violence in the wake of, the massacre in Connecticut last week. So the good news and bad news. The good news is they did it. The bad news is they probably did it not because they wanted to rethink their programming, but just because of the
Pressure.
Timing.
And the pressure.
Exactly. But maybe this will generate a longer-term conversation.
Oh. Well, I see that, President Obama is stepping up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it is extremely serious.
But we were talking about balance before. It's like it's never all patience or all urgency. Mm-hmm. Well, First Amendment rights, okay, freedom of expression. Yeah, but what's the balance in terms of violence and the damage that kind of thing does?
Yeah, and I'm looking at raising my daughter. I look at the boys in her age bracket, 22, and I realize that so many of those video games were so violent, and it's okay to have challenge, but I just wonder what that really does to the psyche. Just like I don't like watching horror flicks because it's not good for. I don't want that in my psyche.
Absolutely. Okay.
There's already enough out there, and
it's
enough.
It's kind of like you are what you eat in terms of
Absolutely,
food,
it's
but
the
you
same.
also you are what you put in
to your mind, your brain, your eyes. It's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, what do you think is the most important approach to wealth? And I know we have looked at wealth from different perspectives, but since I focus in on trying to change the paradigm and the thinking around money, because it's just an exchange, it's just an energy. I've been focusing on that, but wealth is everywhere. Wealth is outside. You go outside and there's beautiful landscapes and flowers and trees and hills.
What contributes to your wealth as an individual, as kind of a primary initial inquiry? What makes you feel wealthy? What makes you feel rich? What fills you up? That's one piece. Another piece is how much is enough? Ability to look for your own bliss. To find what it is that you came here to do, so that you could do it, because that's going to provide a level of satisfaction in ways that you can't dream of.
Yeah, and you can't put a value to it.
No. And what it will also do is it will engage you for your life, because it's not like you find it and you're done. It continues to, your life work continues to evolve as you move forward.
Forever,
right.
as long as we're in this physical body.
Right. So being able to get on that track, one of the things that comes to mind is it comes from a wonderful little monologue bit that Chris Rock, the entertainer, does when he talks about the difference between a job and a career. Mm-hmm. And he said, now I feel the luckiest person in the world. I have a career. But I remember when I had a job. And he talks about how, he'd be constantly looking at his
just over broke.
Right. When he was constantly looking at his watch, and he said, okay, I'm not going to look at my watch for at least an hour. And he resisted and resisted and resisted and looked at his watch, and 5 minutes had passed. And so to be able to be in that mode with your work, that you're just following what your heart and your being is telling you to do. I mean, to me, I don't think there could be any greater wealth. If I had a huge bank account, but every day my job required me to do things that I hated, I wouldn't feel very wealthy.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm on this path as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for facilitating getting this message to more and more and more people.
Oh, absolutely. And so just to kind of, what are the best suggestions that you can say? I don't like to say advice, but suggestions that you can give viewers and our audience for applying spiritual principles to wealth?
Connect your work to your own personal spirit and keep doing the work until you find it.
Yeah, the inner work.
The inner
work.
Because, the darkest hour just before dawn, people will often give up at that last step, that last moment.
Yes.
Just about the time that there's going to be a breakthrough.
And when you really know your purpose and passion, nothing will stop you.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Not even money. Not even the challenges that come up. So you know when you're on that path.
Going back to, your quote of Warren Buffett's earlier, no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
When you're connected to source, when you're connected to center, you just keep going because you don't have any doubt because it's clear.
It is. It's being. It is.
And then the world will open for you.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah.
I mean,
this has been wonderful, and I so appreciate you being here because your contribution today is very valuable, and I so am happy that you came and shared and spent this time. And maybe someday you'll come back, or there'll be another one out there.
It would be my pleasure, and I want to thank you, Cheryl, for giving me the opportunity to talk about and validate, the path that I've been on, and I do hope that it has value for the folks in the audience.
Well, it certainly has value for me because it's on my purpose and passion, and I certainly hope that all the viewers out there will get something out of this.
Great.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be grateful for what you have and be grateful for your freedom. And eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the brain and the body. Don't forget, feed your spirituality with unconditional love, being non-judgmental and non-critical, and share your abundance and wealth with others. Live all your relationships from your heart. Bye for now. Until next time.